Okay, now let's go over the vertebral column. Here we have what's called the cervical vertebrae, and this consists of 7 vertebrae, including the axle and the axis. And these two special bones are what hold up our skull and what help us say yes or no. Also, you will see that the spinous processes, you can see like how they're like divided into two, seemingly, and yeah. And then we have after that, after the 7th vertebrae of the cervical vertebrae, we have what's called the thoracic vertebrae, and this consists of 12 vertebrae. And as you can see, the spinous processes, like they become singular, more single, and they like enlarge in size. And we refer to this vertebrae, like we refer to them as T1 through T12, and the cervical vertebrae we refer to that as C1 through C7. After the thoracic vertebrae, we have what's called the lumbar vertebrae, and as you can see, the spinous process is enlarged even more, and like the direction of the spinous processes even changes, like more horizontal than the downward angle that the thoracic vertebrae has. And we refer to the lumbar vertebrae as L1 through L5. And after the lumbar vertebrae, we have what's called the sacrum and the coccyx. The sacrum has infused bones, and the first 4 are referred to as a median sacral crest. And now let's go over the thoracic cage. The thoracic cage consists of true ribs and false ribs and the sternum, and attached to the sternum we have what's called the clavicle bones. Now the jugular notch is found between the clavicle bones, which is this area right here, and then inferior to the jugular notch, we have what's called the manubrium, and after the manubrium, we have what's called the xiphoesternal joint. And after that, we have what's called the body, the sternum, and after the body, the sternum, we have what's called the xiphoid process, and it resembles that of a sword, as you can see. And the true ribs are attached to the sternum directly by cartilage, and then the false ribs, except for the last 2, are indirectly attached to the sternum by the cartilage of the last true rib. Now, the thoracic cage is meant to protect our heart, and meant to protect our other internal organs like our lungs and so on. Okay, let's go over the upper limbs. Here we have what's called the scapula, and this is attached to the clavicle bones. The scapula is not attached to anything but the clavicle bones, and the clavicle bones are what attached to the sternum by the jugular notch. Now, attached to the scapula, we have what's called the humerus bone. The humerus bone is attaches the ulna bone and the radius bone. And if you're like at a anatomical position, you would say that the ulna bone is medial to the body, and the radius is found lateral to the body. Attached to these 2 bones are what we call the wrist, and the wrist consists of 8 carpal bones, and attached to the carpal bones we have what's called the metacarpals, which I say would be the regions right here, and attached to the metacarpals we have what's called the phalanges. And the hand for each finger consists 3 phalanges, 3 different bones, except for the thumb. The thumb only has two bones. All right, let's go over the pelvic girdle. The pelvic girdle consists of 2 coxal hip bones, and as you can see, the pelvic girdle consists of the sacrum, the coccyx, and also, like I said, the coxal hip bones. And as you can see here, we have what's called the ilium crest. This is the ilium crest. And here we have the pubic symphysis, which is like a bone that attaches the coxal bones together. And then here we have what's called the pelvic rim, which is formed by the by the pubic by the pubis and by the ilium and by the coxal bones and the sacrum as well. And then here we have like what's called the pubic tubercles, and then closer to the pubic symphysis we have what's called the pubic crest. Now let's talk about the lower limb. The lower limb consists of the femur bone, which you can see right here, and then attached to the femur bones we have what's called the tibia, and this is the larger bone, and then here we have the fibula. And you would say that the tibia is found medial to the body, and the fibula is found lateral to the body. Attached to the legs, we have what's called a foot, and the heel consists of tarsal bones. We call this the tarsal, and on the dorsal side of the foot, we have what's called the metacarpals, and then attached to the metacarpals, we have what's called phalanges. Okay, that's about it.